Alright guys, so this video I'm just going to show you how to change the front door speakers. It should be the same for all the 5th gen RAV4s. This is a 2021 RAV4. It's a gas model, XLE. I don't know if that really makes a difference, but it might be a slight difference between the gas and the hybrid. But of course this is the non-JBL system, which is why I'm doing the speaker upgrade. So of course this is the aftermarket speaker. This is the factory speaker, and the factory door speaker doesn't look as bad as the dash speakers, but when you turn this over, you can see, I mean, that's a really small magnet. I was actually going to do a weight comparison between these, but the majority of the weight of course is going to be that magnet. And you can see, so the one on the left right here is a kicker, and it's a model number is CSC 67. You can see the difference in the size of the magnet, and I mean just the overall construction. You can see this is all metal, where this is just plastic, and this is just really lightweight. Like I said, I would do a weight comparison, but the magnet's going to account for most of that. But you can buy this particular speaker for $80 to $100. I bought this off of Crutchfield. I'll put a link to Crutchfield in the description. They actually include like the speaker adapters that you'll need, and we'll get into that, you know, with that part of the install. They also give you a wiring adapter, so it just makes it nice, and all that's included for free. Again, I'll put a link to Crutchfield. You know, then you can actually go on there, and this applies with any vehicle. You can pretty much go on there, put in what car you have and what you're looking to do. If you just want replacement speakers, if you want upgrades, if you're going to use an aftermarket amp or not. And they're definitely really helpful, and a lot of information on that site. So we'll get started. All right, so before we get started, you'll need a few basic tools. The drill, you'll actually need this with a 3/16 drill bit, and that's because the factory speakers are actually riveted into the door panel. We'll get to that part. Phillips head screwdriver, body panel removal tool or body trim removal tool. Again, this isn't something you have to have. Most of the stuff you can take off with your hands. You can also use a flathead screwdriver, but it's always better to have the right tool for the right job. So I would recommend picking one of these up. They're fairly inexpensive. You'll need the speaker adapter, and again, this was included from Crutchfield for free. And here is the wiring harness adapter, and this just makes it easier to connect to the factory wiring and not have to do any cutting or splicing. It's all just plug and play. And some old channel locks here. You can use pliers. You can probably do it with your hands. You're going to need that for this. You'll see it's got some indents here, or you know, some little grooves in it, and you'll see that in a couple of spots. You can see it again right here. You can see where that line is, so it's kind of pre-scored. A lot of these tabs you will have to break off depending on the speaker that you're using. So on the RAV4, you're going to take this tab off right here, and this tab. This one, of course, will stay. This tab and this lower tab, and that'll line up with the factory holes in the door to mount the speaker. Your speaker will actually mount to this ring, and these tabs here, you can again see they're scored and they just break off. So all of those will have to come off, at least with the kicker speakers, to allow the kicker speaker to actually fit down in here flush. And we'll do that once we come to it. So we'll go ahead and get to the door panel removal. All right guys, so we're gonna start on the driver side. This will be the only side I'll do, and of course it's gonna be the same on the passenger. So at the door handle, you'll see right here, and you can see there's that little panel, and it's this panel right here. So we're just going to pop this off, and we're just going to start at the back. Move. All right, so now I'm just going to put this in, slide that in between. Sorry, it's kind of hard to do one hand, but you can see that just pops right off. So super easy to take off. Um, and you can see it's just a couple of clips there, and it just snaps right back in. And then we're going to take this screw out right here, and of course you'll use a Phillips head screwdriver for that. Okay, and once you have this out, just set the screw off to the side. I put it with the little the trim piece that I removed, and that way you don't lose it, forget where it is. So the next piece that we're going to do is going to be right here. All right guys, so we're going to remove this piece right here, and at the back here it actually slides in that way. So you want to start from up here. We're just going to pull that away a little bit, and then we're going to slide this in. And you can see right here, which is why you want to start at the opposite end, because that'll slide into it. And I'll show you that once we start putting it back together. So the next step, there's only two screws here, and it's going to be, you're not going to do these outer ones, you're going to do these inside, right in here. And you can see there's one screw there, the other screw right down here, and you're just going to remove those, and then we'll work on getting the actual door panel off. Once you remove those screws, just set them off to the side. All right, sorry guys, I don't have a magnetized screwdriver. At least I didn't bring it, but those can just make sure when they come out you don't lose them, or you can use a magnet to take them out. And those are the screws that'll come out right there. There's two of them, and like I said, just put those off to the side. So now we're just going to remove the door panel, and again we're going to use this tool. You don't really need it, so you're just going to grab right here, and you're just going to kind of pull that back a little bit, and you can hear it. I like to use this to kind of slide it in, and then we're just going to pry a bunch of these off. You can do this by hand, you don't necessarily need the tool. Alright, so with the door panel off, then you're going to want to come in here, and you'll see those two right there is for the door handle, and then you'll see the two wires for the harness. Alright guys, so for the door handle, you see the best way to get a view for you guys. Alright, for the door handle, you can hopefully see that it just slides in right here, and it just pops out. So you're going to pull it from the back first, and there's just two little tabs right here, one on each side. Just put your fingers kind of behind that and pull it. And that just pulls right out. And so there's your door handle, and you're just going to let that hang. And then you have two more wire connectors. You're going to see those right here. Okay, so this tab, this connector is running this way with my finger, and the tab's going to be on this side, so that's towards the front, about the middle. Just push it in, it'll slide right out. All right, and that's all we're looking to do, is release that tab right there. This tab right here is going to be on the bottom. All right, guys, so this is the tab right there that I was just working on. Had to use two hands, but you can see the clip is at the bottom. You see that little indent, and that's towards the bottom of the door panel. All right, guys, so now the door panel is removed, and there's the factory speaker. You can see it's got 3 rivets. And one there at the bottom. So you're just going to drill those out, and then the speaker will just pull right out. You can also remove the wiring harness right here. Again, this is just a push in, and it'll just pop right off. As soon as there we go, get the right side. And so just remove that and drill out the rivets. One thing to note, as you start to drill these, they will start to spin as it starts to loosen up. So you might want to come in at an angle, or just use a pair of pliers or even a screwdriver underneath just to keep it from spinning. Just put something underneath the wedge, this a little bit, just to keep it tight and keep it from spinning. All right, and as you can see, once you get that last rivet, speaker will just come out. One thing, of course, is when you're drilling, don't push really hard on the drill, or at least make sure that you have enough depth, because you have actually a pretty good amount of room. What you don't want to do, of course, is if you were drilling and had a really long drill bit, is go through and hit the other side of your door. But chances are it's not going to happen. This is a standard size drill bit, and you can see there's a pretty good amount of room in there. So I don't know if you can see that from the side, but no danger of hitting. So all right, and we're gonna get ready to mount the speaker. All right, guys, so this is where the rivets were, those 3 right there. Obviously, if there's any remnants of it, make sure you have it clean. And so these tabs, this right here, and this tab, the one with the score on it, I'll kind of show you. So these, hope you guys can see that. Now the holes are lined up, and that bottom one is lined up. So that 2 tabs sticking off to the side, you're just going to break those off. All right, and so this tab right here with my thumb, you can see where it's got the line right there, and that's where we're going to use the channel locks just to break those 2 off. All right, so again, it's going to be this tab right here, and like I said, you'll see that little line right there. I'm using channel locks, so we're just going to grab it and just twist it back, and you can see that just breaks off nice and clean. And do the same thing on this one. Again, it's the one with the line on it. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. And you can see where the line is, right? And just bend it back, and it'll just break nice and clean. So no need to cut it or file it. Like I said, a pair of pliers or channel locks, whatever you want to use, vice grips. You can probably do it with your hand as well. All right, I'm going to get the speaker and show you guys. So we are going to have to take these inside ones out, and the speakers will actually screw into these outside holes. All right, so you can see we have the speaker, and you'll see, of course, that those tabs hit the edge of the speaker all here, so it's not going to, of course, allow it to sit flush. Again, these are universal mounts or adapters, and all of these, I don't know if you guys can see that okay, but they do have a line there, and they're meant to actually just be snapped off. And we're going to do that the same way that we did it with the outer tabs. So we're going to bend away from the line, and you'll see that that just snaps off nice and clean. And we're going to do that all the way around. All right, now that those tabs are removed, you'll see now the speaker actually fits in, so it's nice and flush. And so now we're going to mount the speaker ring. So the two tabs that we had snapped off, those go towards the top, and this one is facing down. All right, guys, I also wanted to mention, so with the speaker adapters, they do give you screws. Okay, and these are flathead. Sorry, forgot to mention you'll need a flathead screwdriver. We're just using 3 of these. They come with washers and some nuts. We're only using 3 washers. So the nuts are, hopefully you guys can see that. So it's flat on this side, and it's just kind of like sheet metal that's bent over on this side. I'm trying to focus that in, see if you guys can get a better look at that. All right, so hopefully you guys can see that. And then on this side, it's flat. So this side, which is the not flat side, we're going to face into the sheet metal on the door, and that way it actually has something to bite into. And we're only using 1 washer, and that's going to be on this side, and that way you don't have to worry about the screws coming loose. So this part with the tab mounts to the door. Right, and again, the tabs that we broke off, those are going to both face up. So that little notch right there is going to face up. One thing you can do if you want to make it a little bit easier is you can feed the wire through right now before you bolt this. It doesn't really matter, but it might make it a couple of seconds easier for you. All right, guys, and here's the wiring adapter. Feed the large one through here first. And you want to feed this from the top down because it's going into the speaker. Takes a little bit because it's a pretty tight fit. Sorry, guys. All right, so you can see pretty tight fit, so it'll take a little bit, but then just push it through. You can see that right there. All right, so just push through. This is the smaller one, and of course that'll just drop right through. And now we're ready to screw this on. Again, so this will face upwards. And so we have the washer and the screw. It's going to go through here. And when you're screwing it on, the piece that's not flat, so this side, the flat side will face the outer part of the door. So we're going to go in just like this. And that way it has something to bite into. Alright guys, so then we're just doing hand tight, and then we'll get the screwdriver. Once again, it's a flathead, and we'll go ahead and tighten that up. Yeah, and you don't want to go like, you want this really, you want it tight so it's not vibrating or, flopping around, but you don't want to over tighten it. So now you're ready to install the speaker. One thing to note, when you're putting the speaker in, so the tabs that face down, you're going to want to rotate this. Make sure you have these screws here, or those right there, are going to line up with the holes in the speaker, and we'll get a better look at that. But when you put this in, the orientation really doesn't matter. I put mine with the tabs facing down, and then I rotate it, and that way it leaves just enough slack in this harness right here to connect to the factory harness, which is here, but it doesn't leave so much slack that it's going to rattle around. If you mount it with the tabs up, or you have more slack, you probably just want to use a little bit of tape that down, and that way you make sure that you don't have any rattles or anything. Alright guys, so you can see there's a hole here, and there's these small holes that are all the way around. So when this fits in, those will line up with those holes. And they include screws. And it's these screws right here. You don't need the other little metal clips with it, because these will just screw right into the plastic in those holes. You'll notice on here, one of these is smaller, and that matches up with the tabs on the speaker. So the negative side being smaller. And we'll go ahead and put this in right now. When you put these tabs in, or these little clips, you'll hear it when it's a solid connection. You'll feel it kind of click in. All right. So you can see if we face these with the logo facing up and the CS off to the side, once these are lined up, all of these will be lined up. But you can see there's not a lot of room on this. It's a little bit more on this side than there was on the passenger side, but that's just something to keep in mind when you're putting these in. You probably don't need to rotate this because there's enough room, but I did it on the other side, and I'm kind of funny about that kind of thing, so I just want them both, even if you can't see them, I know, that they're both installed exactly the same way. So again, it's not necessary. It's probably just a little quirk of mine. Alright guys, once the screws are in, you can center it up or kind of hold the speaker in place and then start to tighten the screws. Again, you want these tight because you don't want any rattling, but you know, be reasonable when you're tightening them. You know, don't try and put like a tremendous amount of pressure on it. You don't want to strip out the plastic or, you know, distort the speaker cage or anything. Speaker's in, so now let's connect the harness. Can only go in one way. And we're just going to tuck that down. I'm probably going to use a little bit of tape there just so it's not rattling around. Then you'll just want to test it out, make sure everything's working, make sure everything sounds good, and now we'll go ahead and start putting everything back together. Alright guys, so now we're going to start putting everything back together. One thing I did want to mention is you'll notice you have all these clips right here. This is actually what holds the door panel on. And you'll see it's got a little black foam washer around it, but you'll see that this one right here, sorry, let me try and get that into view a little bit better. So this one right here doesn't have it, and a lot of times what happens is it just sticks to the door panel. In this case it's actually right here, so it's just a little like foam rubber washer. Really not a big deal, but you know, as long as you're doing all this, you probably want to do it the right way, and you know, anything that you can do to prevent any rattles or anything is a good thing. So we'll just stick that one right back on, and like I said, you're just going to want to look at all the white clips on here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, looks like 9 clips, and so you just want to check all of them and just make sure that all of them have the washer on there, and if not, you know, it'll be on the door panel. Sometimes, you know, it might fall on the ground or something, but you just want to make sure that, you know, we put those back in. So we're going to reassemble everything. We're going to put these clips in first. This one, the longer one, the tab, which is right there, will face towards the front, and it's going to plug in just like that. And this one right here, that tab will face down, and it's going to go in just like that. Might be easier just to do it that way where you can see it. I don't know if you guys can see that clip or not. It's right there. All right. Then we're going to put the door handle back through. I'm just going to feed this through. Hopefully you can see that. It just goes in. There we go. And so when we're putting this in, I would suggest just lining up one of the pins. Doesn't really matter where. I'm going to line up this back one. You'll hear that click in. I'm going to line one more up. And then we're just going to push all these in. All right. And I'm going to do the door handle next. Remember, that's just this screw that we set aside earlier. Make sure it's nice and tight. Make sure everything seems good. And we're going to reinstall this. It doesn't really matter which way this goes. It just clicks in. All right. And the last one is going to be this trim piece right here. Again, remember, back here you have those little hooks where you can see that. All right, so remember, we're going to put the screws in first. And we're just going to clip this in. Again, back first. All right, to make sure that those hooks are going in. Right there. All right, guys, that's it. Speaker's done, and you can see it's actually pretty easy. Doesn't take very long, I would say. You know, plan on maybe an hour or two. You could probably get it done in 30 or 40 minutes if you're comfortable doing it. If you're not, like I said, maybe a couple hours, but it's not hard at all. And then this way you guys can enjoy some better sound when you're out for your drive. If you found the video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. And remember, it's better when we do it together. Thanks for watching.